Tim, can you tell me about the sport of free running, where it all started?
Okay, well, it came out of France. There's a suburb of Paris called Nice, and there was a guy called David Bell. He did a BBC Rush Hour commercial, and he did a movie called District 13, it came out last year, I think, in the UK. It's a French film, quite underground. But he started it 20 years ago now. His father was a fireman and stuff, and his grandfather was in the French services, and looked for a good way, a very efficient way to move. And he was thinking, if in an emergency, if someone's like in a fire, how can I get there as fast as possible? You know, I don't want to always go up the stairs. That could be the longest way. So he just started practicing just getting around buildings and roofs and things like that, from one place to another as fast as possible. And that's how it came about. He just started practicing that with a bunch of friends, and then it evolved to them trying flips off stuff and things like that, and we are where we are today now.
And Tim, how did you get involved in the sport yourself?
I saw a documentary on Channel 4 a few years ago called Jump Britain, and I used to breakdance before it, but I saw that, and it just looked like the guys that were doing it just had so much freedom, and and breakdancing can be quite competitive and restrictive, and I just managed to take the skills I already have and the physical abilities, and then started practicing this sport, and I just picked it up quite fast.
So how many years experience now? You're the world champion now at the moment, Tim, so how many years did it take to get to this stage?
5 years. I've been training for 5 years. The first ever World Championships was last year, and I came second in that. And then I just had a good year, I guess, in between.
So how is it a growing sport? Is it big all over the world, Tim, or is there particular countries that it's just very strong in?
It is a growing sport, and it is definitely growing exponentially. But England has got the best scene in the whole of the world, you know. I don't know if it's just the architecture of England or what, but I've been all over the world training with all athletes from all over, and just the areas we have in England and London especially just bodes so well for what we do. And some of the athletes that are in the UK, I mean, there were some that weren't in the competition that are just ridiculously talented, you know.
Can you tell me how you train, Tim?
Yeah. Well, I practice between, 2 and 8 hours a day, 10 hours some days. We have friends from all over the country. We drive around to each other, we train in each other's locations, and we just go out into environments on
so
schools.
Is there clubs?
No clubs as such, you know. I mean, there are clubs and there's coaching and things, but we just prefer just to be our own masters, you know, and come up. Then we make our own path, so to speak. We create things ourselves.
Now, is there a structure to the training, Tim, as there's a structure in other sports, or is it just a matter of kind of not enjoying the obstacles and? Yeah,
that's exactly it. Yeah, it's purely enjoyment, and I just do it out of the love for movement and expressing expressing myself, and the control I have over my body. Over the years, you just feel the progression, and it's so wonderful to know your body's potential more than just the person that walks to work every day, sits down and walks back, you know.
Do you need to have a reckless side, Tim, to kind of really, I suppose, thrive or flourish in this sport?
For me, I mean, some of the other athletes I think were reckless because there were quite a few injuries went on in the competition. But for me, people that know me as well said that mine was just one of the safest runs. Like, I did things that I fully 100% knew I could do and was going to land, and I think that really helped because, I mean, one of the criteria for the judges was execution, and because I landed everything, it was executed perfectly, and the fluidity was another one, and if you're landing everything clean, you can move on to the next movement, and I chose a path that was quite difficult, but just that I knew I could do every time. So for me, I don't think there's any recklessness there.
Now, the actual course that was set up for the World Championship, is that realistic? Does that kind of reflect the type of obstacles you're dealing with day to day?
I mean, yeah, when we train parkour, we do always think that these obstacles, it's more of a mental challenge than a physical to overcome what we're trying to do. And it does bode so well into normal life. We apply this mental challenge and this thought process, and we can overcome obstacles we do come at every day, like girl problems and family problems, and you just it really does. It puts you down to earth, and you question everything more, and it helps you come up with a better answer.
How fit do you need to be, Tim?
You know, there's any level of fitness. Anyone can do the sport, you know. It's as simple as being in a car park and you see 2 parking lines on the floor and you try and jump from one line to the other. And, you know, some people might make it easier than they ever thought they could. And then they might see a curb which is the same distance across and jump between the 2 curbs. And they're like, oh man, like, they're surprised they can do it. But we always, like back from caveman times, we always needed the ability to run around and jump and climb stuff. And it's still in us, but too many people are just shutting it out and trying to focus on the day-to-day lives. But we've got 2 arms and 2 legs, and we just don't use them very much.
So is there a kind of great sense of freedom about this type of sport?
That's entirely it for me. You know, I climb on roofs and stuff, and I know it is trespassing, but for me, I don't damage anything, I don't hurt any person, and as long as I abide by that, you know, morally it's correct for me, and it gives you that freedom. You know, some days I just go out with my friends in the evening and we'll just sit on a rooftop and watch the sun go down, and just normal people don't get to experience this because they automatically think it's wrong or dangerous or something, and you know, if you do it properly, it's fine, and the freedom is just the number one drive for me.
Now Tim, obviously the environment that you be conducting your training in, you know, a lot of the public are kind of walking by all the time. You get some strange looks.
Yeah, and there are people that think you're damaging stuff, or that think you're just some crazy kid and you're going to break your neck, and it's just so far from the truth. You know, we've built up for so long, so many years, and trained day in, day out, blood, sweat and tears for this, you know, and we're so aware of our abilities now. And I mean, there are some people that fully appreciate it, that you will expect. You get old women coming up, oh, well done, that's great, you know, and it's great to see that there are the people that you least expect will appreciate what you do, and that's like one of the great drives for me.
Now, Tim, some of the moves that you that were part of your win and run at the World Championships, the standing flag, is that right?
The walking flag thing,
walking flag. I mean, how hard is it to execute a move like that? Maybe you just tell the listeners what's involved in that move.
Well, basically, there's a vertical pole, and I grab both hands on the vertical pole, and my feet are standing on the floor. But then I walk up into the air with my feet, just using my hands on the pole to hold me horizontally out. Once you can do the flag move itself, you know, this is just some creative. I saw it once on YouTube and I tried it, and it really wasn't that hard, but it is getting the initial flag move itself, which is where you've just got 2 hands on a vertical pole and you hold your whole body out horizontally.
So there's obviously a lot of creativity to this sport as well. Do you find other kind of competitors trying to copy your moves?
Not yet, because they are in the community. I'm seen as like the strength guy, and I do all these strength tricks. And I'm waiting, because eventually there will be a lot more people around that will be, because I'm winning competitions with these tricks. There will be people trying to do them to knock me out, and that's what I've got to stay on top of my game and keep it creative every time.
Now, Tim, in modern sport, you know, I suppose a lot of athletes, they have strict diets, they kind of look after themselves very well. Is it the same for the sport? Yeah,
well, for me, I kind of ate McDonald's the week before. It's a bit similar to Usain Bolt there, and it seemed to work, although I was questioning my stamina for the course quite a lot, but I think I was very lucky, and I will be more careful in future. There are a lot of us that do have proper diets, and I was eating well up until the week before, but I had quite a mad week travelling around and just got caught off guard.
Now, Tim, you must have been delighted when the sport was kind of elevated to the status of World Championships 2 years ago. Can you see it going pro in the future?
Well, I've been making a living off this sport for the past 4 years now, you know. I've been doing adverts and commercials all over the world. There's other countries that have picked it up and that enjoy seeing it more than England, even though England has got the best scene. But yeah, I'm waiting for the stage where there are people in the sport which are like Tony Hawk, you know, and everyone knows Tony Hawk, even though they don't skateboard. So I'm waiting for the day when, you know, people might know my name that just have no idea about the sport.
The last question, Tim, you're a world champion now. Where do you go from here?
It's just more competitions, more jobs, hopefully more high-profile jobs. I'm just got to keep the ball rolling and look out for my name.